Welcome to the deep dive. We take stacks of sources, pull out the key bits of knowledge. Today, we're diving into something that, well, it affects nearly all of us, maybe in ways you haven't thought about. A community parking study brief. Our mission here is to understand how communities are starting to rethink parking. It's not just about a space for your car anymore. It's being seen as a strategic asset.
hmm
And that has pretty big implications for things like housing, local businesses, even the environment.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely more than just, circling the block, trying to find a spot. We're looking at a framework here that uses data, real insights to, well, boost local business, help with housing affordability, and make streets safer, frankly, and just more pleasant. There's a key idea in here called curb efficiency.
Curb efficiency, okay.
Yeah, basically managing that valuable public land, the curb, for the best possible community benefit.
Okay, let's unpack that because the study makes a strong argument that there's a true cost to what most of us think of as free parking. What are these hidden costs, some of the surprising ones?
Well, the brief really shines a light on some significant economic costs and social ones, too. For, well, decades, really, that public curb lane has often just been treated as free, long-term storage for private cars. You combine that with rules, zoning rules usually, that mandate tons of parking in new buildings.
Right, the minimums.
Exactly, parking minimums. And it creates these huge hidden costs. I mean, think about it. Mandated parking. It's a major driver of high housing costs because those costs, they just get bundled right into the price of every home or the rent.
So even if you don't own a car?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You end up subsidizing your neighbor's parking spot without even knowing it. Plus, it encourages more driving, feeding this, what the study calls a vicious cycle of congestion.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting, I think. The study actually puts numbers on some of this. Building an underground parking garage, for example, it can cost anywhere from, what, $35,000 up to $60,000, maybe even more, per space.
Per space.
Yeah. Which, to put that in perspective, is like buying a new car or a big chunk of a down payment on a home just for one parking spot. And that cost translates directly into monthly rent. Adds like $292 to over $500 a month per unit.
It's staggering when you see it like that.
It's a massive invisible tax, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And beyond just the money, it's an incredibly inefficient use of a really valuable public asset, that curb lane. Right now, it's mostly car storage. But it could be, outdoor dining patios,
Yeah.
short-term spots for customers hopping into local shops, wider sidewalks, bike lanes.
Green space even.
Green space, exactly. Things that serve way more people and actually generate more benefit for the whole community.
Okay, so if free parking isn't actually free and it's costing us in all these hidden ways, what's the forward-looking way to manage this space?
The big shift, really, is thinking about it differently, moving away from just car storage towards strategic resource management. It's not about being anti-car. It's framed as being pro-community, using data, using best practices to make sure these shared spaces really work for the entire neighborhood. So that might mean prioritizing short-term access, turnover in commercial areas to help businesses,
Yeah.
and maybe protecting residents parking closer to their homes in residential areas.
Yeah.
We're seeing cities across the country have real success with these kinds of reforms.
Yeah.
Revitalizing business districts, making neighborhoods, just more livable.
And you mentioned this isn't just some like random local idea. It fits into bigger picture planning goals we see in a lot of cities. What kind of policies does this framework actually support?
Precisely. Yeah, a study like this gives cities concrete evidence justification. Maybe sometimes they call it a policy shield,
Okay.
to actually implement the plans they've already approved. Things like aggressive climate action plans aiming for net zero emissions, or smart growth strategies like San Diego's City of Villages idea, promoting compact, walkable areas, and newer mobility plans that actually prioritize people, first pedestrians, then bikes, then transit, then vehicles. It helps make sure development actually serves people, not just cars.
That makes a lot of sense. But okay, how does a study like this get the data? What are they actually measuring out there on the street?
It involves a pretty holistic data collection effort. They measure things like parking occupancy.
Right. How full are the spots?
Exactly. Is it really over 85% full, suggesting a genuine shortage? Or is it more of a perception issue, maybe poor management? They'll also look at parking duration and turnover. Are cars sitting there all day, long-term storage? Or are spots turning over quickly for customers?
Okay.
And crucially, they measure residential parking demand. This directly addresses resident concerns about new housing. They look at how many cars are actually registered to households in an area versus the off-street parking available.
Gotcha. Comparing need versus supply.
Right. And finally, that curb efficiency idea, again, trying to quantify the actual community benefit generated per foot of curb space.
Okay, so bringing it all together, what does this mean for, for you listening? What are the practical solutions that can come out of this, especially if you're worried about parking where you live?
Yeah, the brief usually lays out a whole toolbox of potential solutions,
Yeah.
and they're designed to directly address those resident concerns. Key tools often include things like residential permit programs or RPPs.
Right, where residents get permits for their street.
Exactly, it protects residents from spillover parking, gives them priority. Another really critical one is unbundling parking from housing costs.
Explain that one a bit.
So instead of the cost of a parking spot being hidden in your rent or purchase price, it's leased separately, like an optional add-on.
Ah, so you only pay if you need it.
Precisely. And this is huge because it means new residents moving into new buildings, if they don't own a car or don't need a spot, they don't bring one into the neighborhood just because the parking came with a unit. It helps new housing get built with potentially little or no new impact on street parking demand. It's about choice and fairness, really.
So, what we've really unpacked today is how just rethinking something that seems as simple as parking, well, it can unlock pretty significant benefits for housing costs, for local shops, and just for how we experience our neighborhoods day to day. It definitely challenges that whole assumption about what free really means.
hmm And it raises, I think, an important question for you to think about in your own community. How could your neighborhood benefit if you started seeing those curb lanes, not just as places to store cars, but as this dynamic, really valuable public asset that's just ripe for innovation and making the community better?